In our polarised politics, extremists on both sides can agree on one thing. The Jews are to blame again.
We're saying roughly 150 people entered Trump Plaza. We made 98 arrests.
I believe that we will win.
The eruption of anti-Semitism on the left, which resurfaced as opposition to Israel's tactics in a war started by its enemies, is the most potent form of Jew hatred today. But since World War II, it's been mostly the right that's energetically juiced the Jew-loathing, with Holocaust denial and other conspiracies.
Dude, we are not allowed to be lawfully detained. What is our charge?
Macing people?
No, they attacked us. We were in self-defense trying to walk away.
Now, not wanting to let the teenage-brained Hamasniks on college campuses be the only beneficiaries of the oldest hatred, people who dominate much of right-wing talk seem eager to reclaim the Horst Wessel flag. Joe Rogan, the podcaster with the biggest audience, recently hosted a man who's made a living spreading sympathetic falsehoods about Nazi Germany. A man Tucker Carlson described as maybe the best and most honest popular historian in the United States.
I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War.
I won't dignify his sham scholarship by naming him out loud, but it was a quote on the Joe Rogan Experience that captures, well, the sense of the man's history.
When did Hitler start going after the Jews?
A rambling answer punctuated with elementary historical errors follows Mr. Rogan's question, which ends with this little gem about Adolf Hitler.
His anti-Semitism was what allowed him to love the German people.
Mr. Rogan has hosted others with vile views, and while I'm sure he is no anti-Semite himself, it's a problem that one so influential promotes and seldom challenges people with ideas that were once understood to be so self-evidently wrong and loathsome.
And I'm not saying that all Jews are in on something. Clearly, internet. Thank
Clearly,
you.
internet.
And Joe is definitely not saying that.
Definitely not.
We have proliferating examples of this normalization of previously marginalized ideas and symbolism.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
I'm willing to accept that when Elon Musk made that arm gesture at a rally after Donald Trump's inauguration, he wasn't actually giving the Hitler salute.
My heart goes out to you.
But his, shall we say, carelessness with such symbolism is worrying. As was his sharing of a since-deleted post on X to his 220 million followers that stated, Stalin, Mao and Hitler didn't murder millions of people, their public sector workers did. Let's stipulate again that Mr. Musk didn't intend to exonerate the Führer from responsibility for the Holocaust, but what does it say about current attitudes towards Jewish suffering that the man responsible for eliminating the jobs of tens of thousands of government workers, at least for a while approved of, even if in jest, such a comparison? And it's certainly not what Mr. Trump pitched on the campaign trail.
My promise to Jewish Americans is this: with your vote, I will be your defender, your protector, and I will be the best friend Jewish Americans have ever had in the White House.
Sheer dumbness is part of the problem. Our culture is dominated by people with epic levels of historical, economic and scientific ignorance. I mean, can podcasters like Messrs. Rogan and Carlson see the difference between the charlatans they promote and actual historians of the Third Reich, such as Richard Evans or Ian Kershaw? Do they even think about the consequences of their words and actions?
The latest FBI data shows that Jewish Americans, which account for about 2% of our population, were targeted in nearly 60% of all religious hate crimes, a nearly 20% jump from the previous year.
The larger problem we have, though, is the steady undermining of truth itself, not least in academia. Asked which universities are worst in terms of anti-Semitism, this was the response from one witness during a recent Senate Judiciary Committee hearing.
How much time do you have? I do think that every single Ivy League school is to blame.
Today, the tendentious and dishonest nonsense that holds sway at most of our top schools, and the intolerance with which its adherents exclude dissent, have undermined trust in academic truth and debased the currency of scholarship so that anyone with access to a social media account can propagate his own learning.
Jew hatred is now spreading beyond the campuses. We're seeing it spread to workplaces, the healthcare industry, the publishing industry, and more.
The collapse of trust in almost all of our sources of information, media, government, experts of all sorts, has allowed epistemic malignancy to flourish. 50 years ago, Nazi apologetics were malicious ahistorical fantasy, a thin veil for ancient bigotry, whose propagandists were rightly ostracized from serious political company. Today, they're just another interesting lie that will get you a fat paycheck on YouTube.